Hi guys, this is Vidya. So she is senior at Mercer University. What is that you're doing, sweetheart?
I study global health.
Awesome. So she's going to give us some fun facts and also very important information on electronic waste. So the e-waste is like electronic, E for electronics waste. So Vidya, you can go ahead, sweetheart. And at the end, we will do some questions and some fun stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So sharing my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay. All right. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about e-waste. And so just a basic outline, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what e-waste is, why should we avoid creating e-waste, and what can we do to help dispose of it responsibly and avoid having to produce e-waste at all. So first off, e-waste is any electronic product that is nearing the end of its functional ability. So like on the little picture, you see things like old cell phones, computers, old computer monitors like the screens, printers, speakers. And it's not limited to just big equipment, but also things like charging cables, batteries, light bulbs, even the ink that goes inside the printer, all of that is considered e-waste. And so, nowadays we're using more and more technology and things like that. And so it's very easy to find a lot of old electronics around our house that are no longer usable. But what most of us probably do, and what I used to do, is just throw them in the trash. But today I want to talk a little bit about some better ways to dispose of it and why those ways actually matter. So e-waste actually comprises 70% of our overall toxic waste. And so, and the reason that is because a lot of e-waste contains different metals and chemicals that are very toxic to both our environment and our personal health. And so actually in 2019, in the entire world, 53.6 million tons of e-waste was generated. But of that 53 million, only 17% was actually recycled properly. So most of them was disposed in really harmful different ways, either in landfills or shipped to other countries, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And so it's really showing that as we continue to gather so many electronics, a lot of them are not being disposed collectively as an entire world and community. So where does our e-waste actually go? The big one is they go to landfills. And so when people just throw them in their trash, outside of their house, they just go into landfills. But sometimes we get so much waste actually that the US ships off their waste to different countries. And so they go to places like China, Africa, different countries like that. And they go into landfills in those areas. And the reason why this is so bad is because the way that e-waste disposes is that one way is when they have an excess of it, they have to burn it. And when you burn the e-waste, it produces a lot of smoke, which is really hard for people in communities to breathe. And so it hurts people's own physical health with their lungs, but also it hurts the environment because it's causing more emission of different toxins and things into the air, which is really, really bad for our fresh air that we're breathing. And so this is one reason why it's really important to try and not throw away our e-waste, because we want it to not help and harm other people. And we want to do it in a way that's more helpful. So these are some pictures actually of the different e-waste landfills that we see both in the US and also outside of the US. And you can see that there's just so much of it. And people are, sitting and working. In this top picture, you can see they don't even have gloves to, take apart the waste. And so they're touching all of these toxic materials, and it's really not good for their health. And so that's one reason. Another reason is kind of similarly to what I'm talking about before is all of our electronics have metals like copper, chromium, lead, cadmium. So it's in our cell phones, in our computers, in our cables. The reason why they're functional is because we use these metals in them, but those metals are also extremely bad. And so what happens is when they go in our landfills, you can see in the picture you have the computers, but they're like leaking all of these materials and waste out of it. So like all of our computers, actually all of this lead and toxins over time, they leak into the earth. And what happens is it mixes with the water. And so when animals in that nearby area drink water, they'll get harmed. Or if even us as humans, when we get water, it will be very polluted. And so we're polluting the earth around us, and we're polluting everything. And so it's incredibly harmful for both humans and the environment and um, everything around us. And so it's definitely a really big impact. And when you think about the amount of e-waste that happens, and that I was mentioning earlier, like 53 million tons, think about how much of that toxic material is actually going back into our own environment and earth. So it's a really big deal, actually. But there are some things that we can start to do individually and encourage our friends and community to also do to help work on this crisis. So one thing is like buying or repairing used electronics. So, sometimes, we always want to upgrade our phones after 1 year and get the newest technology and get the best technology, which is good. But maybe instead of throwing away our old phones, or if we don't trade them back or something, we can sell them used. And so somebody else who might not be able to afford the newest thing but still wants a good phone can actually buy that used electronics. So that's the second one. So selling your old devices is really helpful. But if you're able to buy used and you would enjoy buying a used electronic, that will really help because it helps create less waste. So not buying a product instead of using an already used product, you're not contributing to accumulating waste because you're already using one that exists. And also repairing electronics. So sometimes just in our phone, only the battery needs to be switched, or just one little screen needs to be fixed. So instead of buying a completely new phone, repairing our electronics that are still functional but have little different parts of it that are wrong, just replacing those parts alone is also a really good way to help avoid bringing in new waste. And then as I was talking about earlier, selling your devices is also a good option. Not only can you make some profit off of it, but it's a good way to make sure that you're not just throwing it away and you're actually giving it to somebody who might need a new device. There's also actually particular recyclers, which I'll talk about in a minute as well, who solely focus on recycling e-waste. And so sometimes there are private companies who do this. There are also even in like the local community, the government. So like I know sometimes the Johns Creek government will have a day where they advertise an e-waste drive and they'll collect a lot of waste. And even different companies who produce electronics will also take care of e-waste. And this is really nice because when you have that recycling, a lot of the materials in the phone gets to be reused again in the production of new things. And so even metals like gold and silver are sometimes used in our phones. And there's actually a fact that says the US alone throws away cell phones with about $60 million worth of gold and silver every year. So that's a lot of money that is saved with recycling because you're saving all of that money. But also it helps that you're not taking those toxins and throwing them back out into the earth again. So it's a really good way to recycle electronics as well. And then also spreading awareness. So everything that you learned today, sharing it with your parents, sharing it with your family, sharing it with your friends, telling people, it's really bad. Our phones have these really harmful metals in them. And when we throw them away, it causes harm to the environment and our health. And educating people on some easy ways to help solve this, either telling them to buy used or repair or selling their devices or even responsibly recycling it is a really helpful way, because once we get involved, then we can involve our community, kind of like we're doing right now with this class. And then everybody will really benefit, and hopefully it'll make a bigger and more collective effort. So, excuse me, one really easy solution actually that I personally have been using is places like Staples, Best Buy, and Office Depot all offer electronic recycling. And Staples in particular is the graphic that I've put on this screen here. These are it's a huge list of every single thing that Staples will accept for free. So they accept, I think, up to 7 items at a time. And so like some of my e-waste that I've brought before is I have some old headphones like this that don't work anymore. I've given like old phones before, old iPads. When I got my new iPad, I gave my old iPad to Staples and they do it completely for free. So all you have to do is go give them the materials and they'll actually recycle it for you. So it's very easy. I think Office Depot and Best Buy, you might have to pay a little bit of a fee, but I actually have some photos where my friends had taken, I think, 200 pounds of e-waste when we did an e-waste drive in school. And they had things like multiple printers and monitors. And so some of that e-waste that you hopefully have collected for today, you can involve your parents. And if you don't want to sell it or it's not usable and you're trying to find a good way to dispose of it, a lot of these centers are really easy and convenient options for us to use. And so hopefully, you know, one takeaway from today is that we can, you know, take this list and I can even forward it on the group if you guys wish, but it's also on Staples website, and see what we have from all of this and give it over to them, because you don't have to wait for any particular day. Anytime the store is open, you can just go and drop it off. So yeah, that's the main information for everything. But do you know, the kids have any questions? Do you guys want to share with each other what kind of e-waste you collected or found in your home?
Anyone have any questions, or would you like to share your e-waste?
Waste. Electronic waste.
What do you got, Jishu? Oh, batteries. Okay. Vidya.
Batteries and an old phone.
Wow, a battery's in an old phone. That's so cool. You can definitely take the phone over to Staples if you guys aren't going to use it anymore. And that way you'll know that you had a part in not harming the environment, which is really nice, right?
I have some e-waste I can share.
Oh yeah, that's so nice.
I've got 2 old chargers and I've got an old phone too. I have 2 watches that don't work anymore, and I also have, I can't bring it, but I have a fan that doesn't work anymore either.
Okay. So
I can
fan
see it.
also considered as a e-waste, right, Vidya?
Yeah, fans go also pretty much anything that has a wire and electricity, anything that has batteries, they can all be considered e-waste.
And Jishu showed us some batteries. So there are 2 kinds of batteries, disposable and rechargeable. So we should never throw rechargeable batteries in trash. They should always be recycled, and you can take them to Best Buy, Staples, or recycling centers takes them. All recycling centers takes the rechargeable. But with the disposable, not everyone accepts them. But few recycling centers do accept them. We have to talk to them first about the disposables. But rechargeables, a lot of them accepts. So does anyone else got any e-waste?
I have something to ask about e-waste.
Yeah.
So, we have an old rice cooker. How could we recycle, or how could we recycle that?
Yes, so I know Staples will take small home appliances, so that is something that is possible to take to them. But also I know there are certain recycling centers as well that take e-waste. And so like one that my family goes to is a little bit farther, but it's in Atlanta, but they take all sorts of things. So we sent like a big lamp to them. anything that really has a plug, they take as well. So in case Staples doesn't, I think the name of the facility was called Charms.
Charms,
Charms, yeah.
yes.
Charms, CHARMS. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a place you could take it as well.
But Vidya, the local recycling centers, every county, we have a recycling centers. Like talk to your parents. If you type it in for the nearby recycling center, it will pop up. And you can take your electronics to them. And what I would do, like take the metal thing out, you know, the one you put your rice. The metal thing can go into metal recycling bin at the recycling center, and the electronic part can go to the electronic recycling bin over there. Everything, pretty much everything can be recycled at the recycling centers when it comes to the electronics. But they do charge for big TVs. But like Vidya said, you know, look for like electronic recycling events. Like every county does those events, like bulk electronics. They don't charge anything. It's like free. You can go take any electronic over there. Yesterday, one happened in Suwannee. So you can always look up for those online. Anyone?
So can I go to one of those events and give the fan?
Fan, sweetheart, you can go to your local recycling center.
Okay.
You can type it in Google, or you can ask your mom to do it, and you will see your local recycling center, and there you can take this. Anyone else? Okay. So Vidya.
Oh, I think we have one or two more questions.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Zoya, I saw your hand first.
I have some e-waste.
Can you show us?
I have an old iPad that works a little bit, but it doesn't have much network anymore.
So can we recycle like light bulbs, like light bulbs?
Yeah, you absolutely can recycle light bulbs.
Okay.
Recycling, again, Staples accepts, and also recycling centers also accepts. But they are like, they accept kind of LED bulbs.
I think
they don't accept. Yeah, but take your light bulbs, they will let you know. And iPad, that girl showed us iPad too. You can take it to either Staples, Best Buy, or recycling center. But do not put anything in your trash bin or in your recycle bin. You know, you have a big recycle bin at home that is every week your mom and dad puts it outside at the curb. These electronics doesn't belong in there. We should never put them in there, or we should never put them in your trash. Okay, even the small wire needs to go for recycling. Any more questions you see, Vidya? No? Okay. So next, in 2 weeks, our next club session is on curbside recycling. What we can do, what kind of recycling we can do at home. So, you know, the bin we have at home, what goes in there? That's what we are going to talk about in 2 weeks. So I will be posting more details in our group. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy your rest of the day. Thank you. Thank you, Vidya. Thank you so much.